Should the government legalize all drugs, some drugs, or keep all drugs illegal? That is the question that is asked daily. There are many pros and cons to legalizing drugs, but for the most part, the cons definitely take over the pros. Many people think legalizing drugs will prevent a lot of things, which in some cases may, but at the same time, it will cause more problems to rise to the surface. There are many reasons to keep drugs illegal, but there are three that stand out clearly. Legalizing drugs will not reduce the crime rate, it will hurt the economy, and it will increase the usage of minors using drugs. Legalizing drugs will not reduce the crime rate in any way. Most crimes that are committed are caused because the criminal is under the influence of drugs. Will legalizing drugs stop the crime? That is a definite no. Just because drugs are legal does not mean that the drug dealers will stop dealing or the drug users stop using. Legalizing drugs will increase the purchases of drugs and then will increase the crimes committed. When there is a law against something such as drugs in this case, a lot of people will rebel against it and try and break it. If drugs were to become legal, anyone in their right mind should know that the drug use would triple because of the access of drugs will be easier. When most people are under the influence of drugs, they are unaware of things that they do. A lot of rapes, robberies, murders, and other things happen because of the drug use. The Journal of the American Medical Association reported that cocaine's use is linked to high rates of homicide in New York City, and that homicide victims may have provoked violence through irritability, paranoid thinking, or verbal and physical aggression, which are known to be pharmacological effects of cocaine. Saying that the crime will stop if they legalize drugs is like saying abortions were going to stop when they were legalized. It says something when the legalizers say, there are some drugs that are too dangerous to make legal, such as PCP or crack. So it clearly portrays that legalizing drugs will not stop the crime or reduce the crime rate, but in reality increase it, and drugs should not be legalized. Legalizing drugs will hurt the economy. In 2010, federal prisons cost taxpayers $6.2 billion, and as Posner mentions, drug-related crimes account about half of the federal prisoners. People need to get past how much it costs taxpayers because if the drugs were legal, think about all the costs the taxpayers would be paying to the hospitals. If drugs were legalized and easier to get there, is going to be a ton of people getting deathly ill and sick. Not to mention the money that is going to have to be spent for some of the rehabilitation centers and other areas because of the high drug use. Another issue would be the unemployment rate. Companies and businesses are not going to want to hire a drug abuser or someone that is always high or other things. The unemployment rate is going to rise, and it is going to hurt the economy in many ways. More people are going to have to work more jobs because there are not going to be enough people sober to work efficiently for the jobs. If there are not so many people to put in jail and arrest, then what will the judges, police enforcement, and juries have to do? Absolutely nothing. If you take away the high rate of arrests and trials due to drug use, then they will start to lose jobs in some areas. I would rather pay for the imprisonment costs than have high drug users running around the streets unaware of their actions and harming innocent people or even killing them. Maybe instead of worrying so much on whether to legalize drugs to help the economy, they should just leave them illegal and require the schools to tie in drug usage and abuse awareness to their everyday teaching to teach the kids about drugs and why not to use them. Legalizing drugs will increase the drug use of minors. How about young children and teenagers? They won't be able to purchase drugs just as they can purchase alcohol. Pushers would then concentrate on young people, and how will they learn to say no to pushers when they see their parents getting high with the consent of the government? Legalization would create a large group of new drug users, otherwise known as children. Carolyn Gargaro wrote that in her article called Drugs. She's completely right. When children see their parents using alcohol, they think it is okay to drink because their role models are doing it. The same thing applies to drugs. If they see their parents doing it, then they will think it's okay to follow in their parents' footsteps. Another issue that will rise above to the surface for the children is the fact that there are many rebellious children out there. Once they hit high school, and now even starting in middle school, the thing to do is party. Well, at all the parties is the alcohol and sometimes drugs. Everyone wants to fit in, so they try drinking and try the alcohol, even though they are considered minors. It does not faze the teenagers. If drugs became legalized, they will start becoming available at the parties more and more, and kids will start to get in more trouble because they are under the influence of drugs. Letting kids consume drugs a lot of times can kill brain cells, which will then in the long run affect them when they are at school trying to learn. Looking at the side effect can also affect the country in the long run because if drugs kill brain cells, then the kids and future adults will become less wise to run the country. I'm hoping that these 3 reasons were good enough to show the people of America why drugs should not be legalized. In a society of victims and mitigants to the welfare state, drug legalization is suicide. We refuse to hold people morally and financially culpable for their actions. Yet drugs should be readily available. That's like giving alcohol and car keys to a rebellious 13-year-old. Only a virtuous society can remain free from tyranny and slavery. Drug legalization is a mockery of liberty, no less than socialism is to equality. Stated by Ron M. Leuenberg. Drug legalization, like Leuenberg said, is suicide. Legalizing drugs will up the crime rate, hurt the economy, and increase the drug use of minors. Therefore, drugs should not be legal.